Every time they snuck past curfew, her heart pounded with fear, not excitement. Yet peer pressure kept her tethered to the group, and tonight would be no different. The day started like any other at St. Catherine's Girls' Boarding School, a prestigious institution tucked away in the countryside of southwestern Nigeria. Known for its rigid rules and high academic expectations, St. Catherine's prided itself on grooming well-behaved young women. Yet behind the tall walls and stern-faced teachers, a group of girls lived a secret life. Amoka sat at the back of the classroom, twirling a pen between her fingers. Her eyes drifted toward the window, already imagining the thrill of the night ahead. She was the undisputed leader of their little clique, a position she enjoyed. Bold, confident, and always ready for an adventure, Amoka had convinced the others that sneaking out at night was a harmless escape from the drudgery of boarding school life. Next to her was Busy, quiet and reserved. She didn't share Amoka's bravado, but the desire to fit in was stronger than her fear. In her mind, she knew these late-night escapades were dangerous, yet the thought of being excluded from the group terrified her more than the risk. Every time she hesitated, Amoka's voice echoed in her mind, reminding her that nobody liked a coward. In the front row sat Ngozi, fidgeting with her notebook as she tried to focus on the teacher's voice. Unlike Amoka and Busy, she found no real thrill in sneaking out, only guilt and anxiety. Every time they snuck past curfew, her heart pounded with fear, not excitement. Yet peer pressure kept her tethered to the group, and tonight would be no different. Aisha, seated in the middle, wore a distant look. Her rebellious streak wasn't born purely out of thrill-seeking. She had recently entered a secret relationship with Mr. Ode, a charming but manipulative teacher. Though she tried to believe he genuinely cared for her, doubts gnawed at her. He had promised to love and protect her, but deep down, she wondered if he meant it. By the time the final bell rang, the girls were already plotting their night out. Back in their dormitory, Amoka wasted no time laying out the plan. Ladies, tonight we're heading to Eclipse Lounge. It's the hottest spot in town, and I've got everything sorted, she announced confidently, her eyes gleaming with excitement. Ngozi frowned. Are you sure about this, Amoka? What if we get caught? The principal has been extra strict lately. Relax, Ngozi. You're always worrying. We've done this a million times, Amoka replied with a dismissive wave. Busy, sensing Ngozi's reluctance, chimed in, yeah, don't spoil the fun. It's just one night. Despite her reservations, Ngozi gave in. She didn't want to be left out. Meanwhile, Aisha remained unusually quiet, her mind preoccupied with thoughts of her meeting with Mr. Ode. At midnight, the girls were ready. They dressed in casual outfits smuggled in during visiting days, tight jeans, crop tops, and sneakers. With practiced stealth, they tiptoed out of the dormitory, careful not to alert the night guards. Scaling the stair fence was tricky, but months of practice had made them experts. Once outside, they hailed a cab to take them to the lounge. Eclipse Lounge was buzzing with activity. The air was thick with cigarette smoke and the smell of alcohol. Flashing neon lights illuminated the room, casting an otherworldly glow. Amoka, as usual, took the lead, quickly finding a group of older men willing to buy them drinks. Busy stayed close to her, nervous but excited. Ngozi, however, stuck to a soft drink, wary of losing control in such an environment. Meanwhile, Aisha slipped away unnoticed. She had arranged to meet Mr. Ode at a nearby motel. He had been pressuring her to take their relationship to the next level, and though she had misgivings, she didn't want to disappoint him. An hour into the night, things took a dark turn. The police raided the lounge, barging in with flashlights and batons. Panic erupted as patrons scrambled to escape. Amoka, ever the quick thinker, grabbed Busy's hand and led her out through a back door. They found themselves stranded on a dimly lit street, vulnerable and terrified. A car pulled up beside them. Two older men, who had earlier bought them drinks, offered to give them a ride. Too scared to refuse, the girls got in. The men's intentions soon became clear. They weren't interested in helping. Amoka and Busy spent the rest of the night trying to fend off their advances, only narrowly escaping worse harm. Ngozi, meanwhile, had hidden in a restroom during the raid. Shaking with fear, she waited until the chaos subsided before sneaking out. As she walked back to school alone, she reflected on how close she had come to disaster. For the first time, she seriously considered cutting ties with the clique. Aisha's night ended in disaster when Mr. Ode coldly informed her that their relationship was over. The revelation crushed her, and as she walked back to school, she felt nauseous and dizzy. A week later, a test confirmed what she feared: she was pregnant. Back at school, whispers spread like wildfire. Everyone knew about the raid, though few details were clear. The school administration launched an investigation, and it didn't take long for the girls' involvement to be uncovered. Aisha was the first to face the consequences. Summoned to the principal's office, she broke down under pressure and admitted everything. Her pregnancy was discovered, and she was expelled immediately. The scandal rocked the school community, and the betrayal she felt from Mr. Ode was complete when he denied any involvement. Amoka and Busy were suspended for 2 weeks. Though they weren't expelled, their reputations were ruined. Once the admired leader of the clique, Amoka became a pariah. Busy, plagued by shame and regret, withdrew into herself. Ngozi, though spared from direct punishment, found herself consumed by guilt. She had escaped unscathed, but the emotional toll weighed heavily on her. She distanced herself from Amoka and Busy, choosing instead to focus on her studies. A mandatory assembly was held, with the principal delivering a stern lecture. This incident is a reminder that one night of recklessness can ruin your life. Saint Catharines will not tolerate indiscipline or immorality. Let this serve as a warning to all of you. The girls sat in silence, each lost in thought. For many, the lecture was just another routine warning. But for Amoka, Busy, and Ngozi, it was a painful reminder of their mistakes. Aisha, meanwhile, was far from school, left to face an uncertain future alone. In the weeks that followed, life at St. Catharines returned to normal. The clique fell apart, Amoka struggled with guilt and isolation, Busy kept a low profile, and Ngozi focused on rebuilding her life. Yet the memory of that night lingered. Ngozi often thought about the events that had unfolded. She realized how easily peer pressure could lead to dangerous paths. Determined to learn from her mistakes, she made a silent promise to herself: never again would she let others dictate her choices. Amoka learned a harsh lesson about leadership. Her reckless actions had endangered her friends, and the guilt of that weighed heavily on her. Though redemption felt out of reach, she vowed to be a better person. Busy, though still insecure, began seeking genuine friendships rather than trying to fit in. She understood now that true belonging came from being authentic, not conforming to others' expectations. And Aisha, though far from St. Catharines, was left to navigate a difficult path. Trust is fragile, and misplaced trust can shatter lives. She had learned this lesson the hardest way possible. In the end, St. Catharines returned to its usual rhythm, but the story of that night became a cautionary tale, passed down to younger students. It served as a stark reminder of how one reckless decision could alter lives forever.